You know, some men don't have a choice. Some men don't have a choice but to be single. You know, some men don't have a choice but to be single and have to watch from the outside looking in. You know, it's sad because there's a lot of good men out there that deserve intimacy, that deserve having a relationship, that deserve being with somebody, having a companion, you know, but a lot of men are sadly are never going to experience that, you know. And I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, like, that's one hell of a life, you know, to live. Um, and I can already see people saying, oh, you know, it's their fault why they're like that. You know, they need to go out more. They need to put themselves out there more. They need to, you know, play the numbers game. And I always say, like, don't you think they've done that already? That's always my rebuttal to that. Like, don't you think they have done that already? To be at an age where you've kind of realized, you know, I just don't have it, and the opposite sex just ain't fucking with me like that. You have to go through a lot of experiences to come to that conclusion to where you just stop trying and you accept defeat. Because like that's the only thing in life I feel like you just can't force. You can do everything in life and work your ass off and possibly overcome any kind of doubt that you had with achieving something. But when it comes to women, like, it's one of those things where, like, you either are that or you are not. And it is really that cut and dry when it comes to, like, being attractive to women. It really is. It's one of those things where it's like you either have it or you don't. And it's brutal. It's a brutal truth, man. And you know, it's one of those things where I feel like I don't blame men that decide to find alternative ways to get themselves off, you know, because what else can that man do? You know what I'm saying? I mean, we can judge them for what they do behind closed doors. We can look at them as weirdos, creeps, tell them to go get a girlfriend, you know, and all that. But it's like these men have tried and they've tried and they've tried and they've tried and they followed the red pill advice to hit the gym and hop on this, you know, skincare regimen and get a haircut and dress better, and, you know, and they probably have maxed that out and they may have gotten maybe a little bit of results, but it hasn't moved the needle for a lot of these guys, you know, in a major way. So a lot of these guys, man, they've come to the conclusion that they just are not what women want. And I really feel like when you are a black man, it's even harder. You can't be a suburban black man and be mild-mannered and non-confrontational and don't have an ounce of an edge to yourself, man. In society, you're looked at as weak. You're looked at as soft by all races. Trust me. And it's mainly from your own people, but I'm starting to realize it's all races. And I know there's different races of men out there that go through not being a man that is desired, but I feel like those men of other races, they have it hard, but I just feel like black men, of men of color, they have it harder because there is a stigma that a black man a lot of the time is trying to measure up to without asking to be held up to it. And when he does not meet those expectations, he's written off. And he's definitely not getting the love from other black women. I mean, I've already explained that in other videos. You know, as a black man, if you don't have a thug appeal to yourself, you don't have an aggressive edge to yourself, black women are just, they don't see you. They don't see you. You know, you could be a Michael B. Jordan looking dude and you could be attractive and they'll look at you and say, wow, that's a handsome black guy. But they will probably never give you the ultimate time of day because you just don't have that thug appeal. You know, they don't care nothing about your looks in terms of being attractive. Yeah, you'll get them. They may talk to you. They may actually be a little flirtatious with you, but that is something about that thug appeal to black women. Like, if you don't have that, they truly don't take you serious or even respect you. And it's a dark truth, but it's the truth. And black women know this. They'll deny it because they don't want to be seen as shallow, but they know it's the dark truth. They love thugs. They love guys that are hood. They love those gangster dudes. And if you're a black man and you don't exhibit any of those qualities, they're not fucking with you, you know? But in general, like I say, being a man that is just abstinent and when it comes to intimacy and the opposite sex, it's a hard life, you know? You know, I kind of relate to this a little bit because I feel like there was a point in my life where I felt like I was undesirable. And I used to watch a lot of black pill content and red pill content. And I still do to this day because it's truth in both of them. I think both of them have truth. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like you have to like go through your own experiences to decide whether or not you are you know, whichever side of the coin you want to say you're on. You know, you really have to dissect yourself thoroughly enough before you just say, hey, I'm just this guy that's undesirable. Because you may not be an undesirable man. You may be a guy that just had a few bad experiences. Even guys that are select have had bad experiences with women. You know, they're not as many, but they've had some, you know. But you have to do your own analyzation of yourself before you just write yourself off. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of guys have done it. They've done that for years and they've just realized, yeah, I'm just not that guy, you know? And it's not over though. I mean, again, this is just talking about women and women wanting you and desiring you. But even if you're not that, that does not mean life is over. You know, life is so much more than just women, sex, you know? As a man, you can still go out in this world and create a life for yourself and find things that you love to do and spend quality time with your friends and your family, you know, and you can still build a good life for yourself, man, even if women aren't the easiest thing for you to attract. You know what I'm saying? So it's never this negative mindset when it comes to I'm not what women want, because like I say, the game is flawed. You know, a lot of guys are not desirable because they don't fit the image of what's in style right now. If these guys were existing 5 to 10 years ago, these guys would be up. These guys would be winning. These guys would have girlfriends, probably even kids. But the game is so rigged, you know, as a man, you have to be at the top of the top, you know. The standard is just rising year by year for men. So it's getting harder, you know, for guys just to even get a date, let alone go on these apps and think you're going to find somebody on there. You're not in the top percent. You're not getting no likes or no matches, honestly. If you do, it's a girl that's going to like you and you like swipe on you and you text her and she ain't going to respond. Because again, she's looking at trillions of other guys, you know what I'm saying, that she looks as better than you. So it's one of those things where you have to kind of understand where you stand, you know, and you got to learn how to you got to cope with it. You got to cope with it, you know, you got to cope with it. And then after you cope, you have to come to a level of understanding. And then after a level of understanding, you have to come to a level of having just peace and being at peace with it. And just know, you know, hey, I'm just not that guy. But that does not mean I can't go out here and still shoot my shot every so often. Because I'm going to tell you something. I don't care how chopped or quote unquote unattractive a man is. There's at least one woman out there that finds you attractive. I don't care what nobody say. There's at least one woman out of the whole entire world that will give you some ass. I really do believe that. But again, if you live in a city where you're just not that guy, or just in general, you're not seen in society as that guy based on your aesthetics, then again, it's going to be hard for you to believe that. But like I say, that's why you have to get out your city sometimes. And I'm not saying that's gonna always work, but proximity is a mug. You know, if everybody in your city is a certain kind of way and you're the eyeball, of course you're not gonna get nothing. You go somewhere else though, you may be that guy, you know, based on just the demographic. So You gotta kind of push yourself out a little bit and see like what's hidden for you, what's not hidden for you. You know what I'm saying? That's important. But I understand, man. If when you're going through feeling like you're just, you know, not desirable, man, it can fuck with your self-esteem, man. It fucks with your self-esteem, man, and you don't feel like a man. You don't feel like a real man because you're not getting no ass. I mean, you're doing what you have to do as a man, right? You're paying your bills, you're working, you taking care of your responsibilities, and then at the end of the day, you going on the hub and having a date with your left or right hand with some Vaseline down the side of you. You don't got a choice. You know what I'm saying? It fucking sucks. And I've been there. I ain't gonna lie, I've been there. I'm not ashamed of saying it. I've been there. But you gotta kind of have a little ounce of optimism to yourself because again, all it takes is for you to kind of, you know, again, it's wishful thinking, but again, that's all you have left, you know? Put you know, put yourself together a little bit better, as best as you can, and just go out there and see what the fuck happens. I don't believe a man should be just living life sexually unpleased, being sexually frustrated, because that can trickle into your work life, your day-to-day life. You can be in this uptight vibe and attitude because you're not getting none, and that's what's making you feel tense and angry. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not sexually releasing that urge and getting pleasure. You're just walking around stiff, tight, and mad at the world because the world ain't giving you what you want, man. And that can mess up a lot of situations, man, because you've overreacted over something that was so little, but you're mad and angry about something else that you're suppressing. It expresses itself in different situations, So yeah, it's fucked up, man. But through these times, it's really a serious thing right now for a lot of men, man. But we got to stay strong through these times because again, it's nothing else you can do, but that. But on that note, I'm signing out, man. Peace.